And I've had myself muted. I was just about to tell y'all about my new fancy mic I've got set up here. I've got a new amp, y'all, tonight. So I'm testing out this new audio. Y'all let me know how the audio quality is as I go. If I need to adjust anything, change anything, something sounds weird, let me know. Let me know. Give me some feedback on the mic. Very excited to test that out. I've got Parashan coming on, so y'all know what it is. Welcome to your LSU football fix. I'm Preston Guy, staff writer, TigerBait.com. Tonight I'm going to be running through LSU's bowl game with Purdue. That's in 6 days from now, so I'm not going to get to talk to you again until then. And the roster is going to be as close to what it is, you know, like pretty much everything should be set in stone. You never want to say that in this day and age of college football, but it's about as close to set in stone as we're going to get. And I was going to go through LSU's recruiting class and what I like, what I don't like about this recruiting class first, but I've got Parashan. He's actually messaging me right before the show. He's like, all right, what time do you need me to do? I think he's pretty excited. He might pop in a little early. I think he really wants to get to know and talk to Tiger fans. He's excited to be a Tiger fan. So I figured I'd start with the shorter topic first and then dive into the more lengthy conversation, which is the future of LSU with this signing class. I've got some really high highs to talk about this class, and I've got some things that I'm kind of on. With that being said, LSU's 14.5-point favorites over Purdue. They're missing out on some key talent at Purdue. The head coach is gone, quarterback, receiver, tight end. A lot of talent. It's much like LSU's bowl game last year. So LSU's going to be big favorites in this game. Aiden O'Connell, Charlie Jones, Payne Durham. I mean, these guys, it hurts to lose these guys, but it's not going to be as bad as LSU was in the bowl game last year because, of course, they're going to bring in senior quarterback Austin Burton, who hadn't played much during his career. He's a UCLA transfer and just hadn't found his way to the field very much at all. So LSU didn't have a quarterback last year, but, you know, when guys like that are bailing out of your program and you've got an interim coach who, by the way, Brian Brom is not going to be your head coach. Like, he doesn't have a chance. Like, they've already hired Ryan Walters to come in, the DC of Illinois. It's not like he can have an impressive showing and, you know, win the job. I feel like this is going to be very demotivated effort from Purdue. And we'll just have to see, man. We'll have to see if this team can light a fire. It'd be very impressive if they come out with a fire underneath them. Let's put it like that. For LSU, they got guys opting out. B.J. Ojulari, Ali Gay announced it today. We all kind of expect it for well over a week. And, of course, Jaquelin Roy, we don't expect to see him for the bowl game either. What does that mean for LSU? Well, it means most of the roster's intact, actually. Jaden Daniels is back, as someone comments here. Let's see here. Of course, we got music with his weekly comment, not bus, but Jaden is back. Hell yes. Yeah, Jaden Daniels coming back next year. So we, of course, expect big things out of Jaden Daniels. Someone asked, anybody know when they're going live? Hey, Clay, we go live every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Buddy and Mike go live every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So if 9 times out of 8, that's it. The post-game show, we usually are on about 2 hours after the game ends, but it just, that's always flexible, of course, but almost always 8 o'clock. Last week I ran late because you had 4 commitments like basically at the same exact time, within an hour of each other. One of those guys being Parashan, which of course James Sells says, nice guest. Can't wait to hear you interact with him. Hey, I can't wait to have him on, man. I love it when a Tiger comes in and he's excited to be a part of the program. I was mentioning Buddy and Mike's show tomorrow at 8 o'clock, guys. I don't know for sure if that's going to happen tomorrow or not at this point. We're going to have to see. Mike's been dealing with some family health problems, so any prayers y'all can throw Mike Scarborough's way please do so at this time, because they all could certainly use that. But before I move any further, I do want to thank Tramonte's for making everything we do possible, our show possible, as the title sponsor. Remember, guys, they have all this awesome bourbon. Whether if you missed out on the holidays, guess what? Get you a nice cheers for the new year. Bring in the new year in the right style with one of these fancy single barrel bourbons like Woodford Reserve, Sazerac Rye, Blue Note, Jefferson Reserve. Really good stuff. They've got prime rib and all the goods like ribeye rolls, my favorite cut of meat to put on the grill for New Year's Day parties. So y'all make sure to pop into Tramonte's. Remember, if you mention TigerBait and you spend $200 or more, you get a $25 gift card.
Tramonte's has meat, Tramonte's has seafood, Tramonte's has much more. Tailgating and homegating platters, huge wine and liquor selection, beer and all the spices you need, Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats, ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs, 20 flavors of sausage for the grill, daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tramontes.com.
Thank you, Tramonte's, for making everything we do possible. Let's see here. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hey, Merry Christmas to you, music. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. I had, personally, a great Christmas. In the Guy family. It was my first one with the little guy. And let me just say, I had family coming from all over to spoil this little man. He had an excellent New Year. Merry Christmas. Hey, what's up, Cousin Normal? What up? The post-game show was interesting a few times with traffic. It's hilarious listening to you and Mike. Yeah, me and Mike like to tease each other. Thanks for the comment, James. The traffic was weird because we would be going down River Road and have absolutely no Wi-Fi on like one of our devices. So like I'd be like pressing the buttons and being basically the producer for the show, and he'd just be using his tethered phone as like the camera and live feed. Well, he was on Verizon, I'd be on AT&T. AT&T would be just stinking it up for me, and Verizon be rocking fine for him. And yeah, that was that was interesting. Tried to keep you cool live on air like that. Yeah, I'll say this, Todd Harris. John Trey Kirkland had one of my favorite post-game quote. The whole vibe around the bowl game for LSU, the guys who actually showed up, great night for those guys, man. We fighting Tigers, man. We gonna play. I love John Trey Kirkland. Great for him to have that bowl game. So anyways, 14.5-point favorite, that is LSU. I anticipate LSU will cover. I see a lot of excitement in LSU's program. I think there's a lot of guys building in for what they think. They see something really special being built at LSU, and they really want to take this chance as a chance to build on that momentum, whereas Purdue is just kind of a program just like, all right, let's just put this piece together. They're putting things together behind the scenes, right? They signed 12 guys for signing day. LSU signed 25. Want to know why? Because Brian Kelly's been here a year and got those bricks in place. By the way, he's got his class lined up, and he's already starting to put things together for 2024, where that class is shaping up to be very nice as well. Stupid question. Is this Jaden Jobs, or will there be a QB competition for the starting job? Hey, DA, that's not a stupid question. I was actually on 103.7 with Matt Miguez this afternoon, and they asked me the same exact question. And it's a very valid question, because anytime you've got talented guys like Garrett Nussmeier, like Walker Howard, your job's never safe. But I'll go as far to say Jaden Daniels has, I think, 44 starts. Someone, if you have the number off the top of your head, comment. I think it's 44 starts under his belt. You don't see very many quarterbacks with 44 starts losing their job. That's just very rare. I believe Jaden will have a leg up on the competition. I believe Jaden Daniels is the guy they want to move forward with for next year. And unless Walker Howard or Garrett Nussmeier develop tremendously and it's just not even close, I would say Jaden Daniels will be the guy for next year. I don't think it was necessarily a stupid question, though, but Jaden Daniels certainly does have an advantage in that. Hello, brother. Thumbs up. Thanks, Kenneth, from the Kentucky fan and Deborah. Smash that like button if y'all haven't already, guys, so the algorithm gods that determine the success of my career can continue to bode me success in my career, and so that more people will come in and see Paris Shan, the Arizona transfer. He'll be here in just a minute. I have him set to come in about 3 minutes. I imagine he'll be in a time. So yeah, I expect LSU will cover this bowl game. What's really going to be fun for me, here's your two keys for this. Does Jaden Daniels recover from his knee injury, and does he continue to stretch the field vertically like he was doing mid-season? Mid-season, he really peaked and was looking like a Heisman candidate. One of the best players in the country mid-season. With his legs and his arm, it was clicking. He kind of reverted back, not as bad as it was at the beginning of the season, but he did revert back a little bit toward the end of the season. You saw that with the loss to A&M, the blowout to Georgia, and that type of stuff. Can you go back to stretching the field vertically? Because your offense is intact for the most part. You should be as healthy as you've been all year. Defensively, it'll be a lot of fun, y'all. First off, they're losing their two top receivers and their quarterback. I don't expect them to test out this defensive backfield. I think they're going to try to run the ball a bunch and test this defensive line out. We get a glimpse into the future. I'm very excited. Savion Jones will get his first start at defensive end. They released the depth chart today, and he's listed as a starter. Very excited to see what he does because he's had glimpses where he's looked very sharp. At the jack position, interestingly enough, you've got Mike Jones, who usually is an interior linebacker, not like a rushing jack rusher. They've got him listed at that jack position, along with, and says, or Quincy Wiggins, who we all know has that frame that is just spectacular. He has just he has the bones, as they say in real estate. But he hasn't really shown it on the field so far. Well, he's going to get a chance to show it on the field against Purdue. So a glimpse into the future for LSU's front seven, where most of that is going to remain intact for next year. So very excited about that, particularly Savion Jones, who they've already slotted in as a starter. I think that shows they have more confidence in Savion Jones than Quincy Wiggins, that they have him on paper as the starter. Of course, next year you bring in a bunch of transfer portal guys who are going to weigh into this equation. Jalen Lee, Jordan Jefferson, Paris Shand. A lot of these guys are gonna fight. They're gonna get playtime. I think Jordan Jefferson will be a starting defensive tackle for you next year. All right, I got one question for Stephen Mills. 2-part scale. On scale 1 to 10, how healthy do you believe Daniel will be going into this game? I believe Jaden Daniels will be like an 8 or 9. I mean, it's an ankle sprain, and those take a long time to fully heal from, but they don't take long to get like 80-90% from. And let's see here. What's the part? How healthy? I don't see part 2 of the question. Anyways, just put it in there later. I got Paris Shand is backstage. We're going to hear from Tramonte's real quick, and then I'm going to pop him right in. We're going to jump on in. We're going to meet Paris Shand.
Hi.
Tramonte's has meat. Tramonte's has seafood. Tramonte's has much more. Tailgating and homegating platters. Huge wine and liquor selection. Beer and all the spices you need. Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats. Ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs. 20 flavors of sausage for the grill. Daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tramontes.com.
And here he is, one of the newest LSU Tigers, Paris Shand, live from Toronto, Canada. What's going on, Paris?
How you doing?
Good, man. Good. All right. So clarify for me real quick. You went to high school in Connecticut, but you're originally from Toronto. Is that right?
Well, I did 3 years of high school in Toronto, and then I did another year of high school in Bradford, Ontario. It was a basketball school, and then I did football and basketball. I did a post-grad year in Connecticut.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. I see. All right. So 3 years at Arizona, things were really looking up this year. You started 7 games. You played in almost all the games this year at Arizona. Um, what led to your decision to leave Arizona and enter the transfer portal?
Um, I just thought it was a mutual difference between me and the coaching staff, and it was a mutual decision to go to the portal and see my options.
So what was appealing about LSU in the portal?
Um, Other than the history behind the program, I really liked coaches, Coach Kane, Coach House, Coach Poley, and Coach Kelly. Um, it's just a great opportunity for me to show what I can do on a higher level, like in the SEC, and yeah, ball over there.
So did they tell you that there's any urgency to get your position in, like, because they didn't sign a ton of defensive linemen in the class and they are losing some guys? Did they talk to you about the opportunity for early playing time or anything of that nature?
Well, you kind of talk about it in recruiting. It's definitely a pitch for sure. Like being able to play and competing for a spot, and I love to compete. So, um, I think with my level of competition and my talent, I feel like I'll be able to play.
What positions have coaches talked to you about? Are they gonna stick you at like jack, or are they defensive end? Like, what have they told you about what position they want you to play?
I think it's going to be defensive end.
Defensive end.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And how do you feel comfortable with Jamar Kane? Have you gotten to talk to him very much, or was this? It seemed like it was pretty quick.
Well, the whole transfer portal was kind of quick, but I got the opportunity to talk to him a good amount, and when I was on my visit, we had a good conversation as well. So yeah, I feel good about him. I feel like he's good. He's a great coach. He's been places, and he's had guys in the draft, and he knows what he's doing.
So last week, uh, you were part of a trio that committed to LSU like in 5 minutes. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. It was actually right before my show last week. And that it just made my life chaotic because I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta, write all these. I'm a staff writer first, and then I do this show once a week. So,
Yeah.
I had to write all your commitments and make sure, get all your information and put all that together. Was that like coordinated that y'all were all going to commit at the same time?
Um, there was a little orchestrating done. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask, so you, Jalen Lee and all those guys committing at the same time, and Swinson.
My bad.
uh,
Sorry, my mom just came in there.
Mom's trying to say, hey,
Yeah.
that's all right. I feel you, man. Hey, look, enjoy those days while you get to spend time with her, man, because come this season, you'll be far, far away. Um, but so were y'all? Did y'all get kind of close during the recruiting process? It's always interesting, the transfer portal process, because it's so much faster than like traditional recruiting. Did y'all
Yeah.
know each other, befriend each other,
Um,
anything like that?
Met him on the visit, but not like know them that much. But it's the relationship's there. Yeah.
Okay, I'm curious, and I'm going to try to get as candid of a take out of you as I can here. Was there a feeling that there's something special building at LSU? Because, I mean, LSU outperformed expectations a good bit winning the West this year. LSU has the big name coach, Brian Kelly. Did y'all catch any of that vibe in your process, you know, while looking at LSU versus, I'm sure you had plenty of other, suitors looking at you?
Um, well, when I looked at it, I really just felt like it was a great place to be with all the coaches and all the people in there. Talking to the players on the team, they really loved it and they really felt like it was something that they loved being a part of. So I definitely felt like it's a great situation for me to be in, and yeah, something special over there.
And how much is like, did being able to go to a place that's going to compete for a championship, did that weigh into your decision, or were you just looking for a place where you could get on the field?
Um, it's a little bit of both. I want to be able to be developed to the best of my ability, the best of my potential, while also having the opportunity to compete at the highest level for national championships, and I think LSU is the best place to do that, based on the options that I had.
When you're looking at schools, one of the new features in this game is what kind of NIL opportunities are available for you. What is the process of, testing the waters of, hey, is anything going to be there for me? NIL, is this something that, can be a profitable endeavor for me? And how much does that factor in your decision?
Um, I feel like NIL in my decision is not the biggest thing because I'm being Canadian. There's like student visa and all that type of stuff, so it's not the biggest thing. But I just want the opportunity to go to the next level, really.
All right, real quick. You threw something at me that's a complete curveball. I don't. Does being Canadian, like a foreign exchange student, I suppose, like you said, student visa, right?
Yeah.
Does that complicate the process of signing an NIL deal?
Yeah, I don't think I really can't speak on it. I would need like someone else to speak on it from like the department, like international students. But
Yeah,
it's difficult. Yeah.
yeah. So you didn't really care, is the long story short. You're just looking
Yeah.
for good play time, good program.
Yeah.
And you got to visit LSU, right? What did you think about the campus? You enjoyed campus and all that good stuff?
Yeah.
What did you get to see?
It was all nice. And we went and saw Mike and saw the campus and everything. I thought it was all nice. I've been in college. I've done all that, so it's nothing like new to me.
Yeah, right. I got a question from the audience here. Carl the Cat Dunn. Ask Paris, how active are you on social media?
I'd say I'm active, but like not super active. More on Instagram.
Yeah.
Follow my Instagram on Fresh Paris. But
I'm about to say, get your plug out. Get your plug out. All right, what's your Twitter? What's your Instagram?
Instagram's I'm Fresh Paris, like IMFRESH Paris, like the word, and then Twitter's just first and last name Paris Shand. But I'm active on both platforms. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so just real quick, I want to check up on this. So you have 2 seasons of eligibility left, right? It's kind of a funny question to have to ask people, but with the way everything's been recently,
Yeah.
you never know with the guys. Sometimes they've got an extra year or something like. But you have 2 seasons of eligibility.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah.
Oh, you think you could stretch that out to 3?
If but I wouldn't want to. Yeah.
Yeah. So you plan on playing 2 years? That's like your intention.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And I assume it's always on the table to leave after 1 year. I mean, if you blow up or anything like that, that's on everybody's table. Gotcha, man. Well, look, hey, I appreciate you popping into the show, man. I mean, did you have anything you want to tell LSU fans?
Let's go.
Let's go. Get ready, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, man, we're all excited to have you as a Tiger here. Look, I'm going to put one more fan question up for you. What's your biggest strength on the field, man?
I think my biggest strength on the field is versatility. Being able to do a lot of different things, use my hands, control tackles, control guards. You could put me on the end at third down. You put me against a guard at third down. I know how to read offense, things like that. I just feel like I have the strength within multiple facets on the field.
All right, now let me ask you this. Could you bulk up and move into defensive tackle if needed upon, or you feel more comfortable on the edge?
Definitely on the edge, but if it's like a one-on-one matchup, I definitely could do the 3 tech and like on third down or something. But overall, I'm definitely for that's what I would.
And look, I'm only asking that because I do know there's probably going to be 1 or 2 guys who probably will need to bulk up and slide inside. I'm not saying I think it was you I was looking at to do that. I just know someone would. I was wondering if anybody had that on their mind with you already. But yeah, I definitely agree on the film I've seen. Definitely an edge rusher. Well, hey, look, Paris, man, appreciate you for stopping in the show. I already plugged your social media, man. So thanks for popping in, man. Hoping to talk to you soon. Hope you have a great season here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. There he is, Paris Shand. Arizona transfer, defensive end, very cordial, very straightforward. Gotta love a kid like that. You can tell. Yeah, look, like James Sell said it straight. He ain't messing around. He was straightforward, very businessman-like approach to that interview. Sometimes I like a kid to be long-winded and gab around, but nah, he ain't messing around, man. He went straight for it. All right, I want to give y'all a breakdown of what I thought of LSU's recruiting class. I have some very interesting thoughts, some nuggets that you probably didn't know. about this recruiting class. So y'all stick around. We'll hear about that. I'm going to talk about a couple sponsors real quick. We're going to start with Celebrity Theaters, located in Baton Rouge, Broussard, Ruston. They have freshly renovated theaters with those nice leather reclining seats that I refuse to sit in anything else. They have specials like Senior Savings Monday, Bargain Tuesday, half-priced arcade and college night. By the way, the Baton Rouge location has Baton Rouge's largest arcade. They do private events, catering, all sorts of things. Whatever you are celebrating in your life, make sure to go check them out. You can email events@celebritytheaters.com to get started. Also presented by Alumni Hall. Guys, I know the holidays are over, but it's still the best. Look, all that Christmas money you just got, you know where to take it to. Alumni Hall. They have all the best apparel for your family, hats, drinkware, wall art, cornhole. I mean, all the goods. Special wall lights, lamps. It's a great place, guys. Tons of custom LSU gear like nowhere else. LSU students and faculty and military receive 10% off in store. You can earn cash back with their Hall Pass rewards. Check out Alumni Hall at Perkins Row or shop anytime at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, the ultimate LSU Tiger shopping experience. Thank you, Alumni Hall. Hey, real quick, been going in the show here a little while. I got a new amp. Guys, how's the audio quality tonight? Do I have any like hot spots or anything? I actually can't hear myself too. I will go back and like listen to the show later on, but I can't hear myself while I do the show. So y'all tell me what you think about the audio quality. Let's see here. Someone asked a question if I think Jordan Jefferson will start over Wingo or Smith. Look, I think Jefferson probably either gets that defensive end spot or he'll rotate in a lot with Wingo. That's kind of where I'm at with Jordan. I mean, I've gotten really good. My people from West Virginia I've talked to really are high on Jordan Jefferson. They thought he was very good and he was, one of the strengths of the team. Has he eaten Cajun food yet? Someone asked. All right, Stephen Miller. If he had the flu and playing so poor, this is talking about Jaden Daniels. He had the second part. Okay, here's the second part. If he's 7-9 healthy, what's the benefit of playing him for the bowl game for Daniels to risk re-injuring that ankle with his type of gameplay? If he had flu and playing so poorly for 3 quarters, why wouldn't have LSU have made the change? Just not buying Flugate. And he's talking about Arkansas game, of course, where he had the flu and his numbers dipped dramatically. Look, here's the deal. Ultimately, this ball game doesn't really matter. And what could get really messy for your quarterback room is benching him and letting a guy come in behind him and just absolutely light it up. Kind of like what Matt Flynn did in 2005 with that Peach Bowl, and then all of a sudden you have a quarterback controversy, Jamarcus Russell versus Matt Flynn. But that would be my thought, is you really don't want something messy like that. But who knows? It's Brian Kelly's decision. And all I can tell you is that they're going to look to see who the best player is for the bowl game. And if Jaden Daniels is healthy enough, they've already determined he's the best quarterback on this team. Should be interesting. Someone asked me how I feel about Ohio State versus Georgia. I think Georgia got a little bit screwed because in this playoff, they're the number 1 seed, and they're playing who I think is the second best team in the playoff. Ohio State. I think well, I'm sorry. Michigan is the better team, but I think Ohio State, let's put it like this, because of their ability to air it out all over the field, they're the team more like has the better matchup for Georgia. Okay, Michigan's clearly, they beat them by 20 points. Clearly a better team. I just like Ohio State's matchup against Georgia better. But that being said, Georgia has been so darn good, so darn dominant, and it is hard to stop their offense because it's not, some fancy offense that takes advantages of mismatches. You just have freaks of nature like Darnell Washington and Brock Bowers running all over the place with a, 28-year-old quarterback. Oh, he's 25, but you get my point. 25-year-old quarterback, doing his thing. It's not like, one guy can go down. You just, quarterback has a bad day and your offense. No, they got tons of talent around it. I think Georgia's going to steamroll everybody. I think they're going to steamroll Ohio State, then they're going to steamroll Michigan. All right, let's move on. Talk about this recruiting class. So I talked more last week. Remember, last week's show was the day before signing day, so it was more about like what LSU had coming, and it was insane how fast information was changing. Remember, last week's show was like you thought, Desmond Ricks was all LSU. Well, that changed very quickly. And then, the tight end they got, the Vanderbilt commit, what's his name? Pimpton. At the time when I went live on my show, it looked like a fringe guy at best. Guess what? He committed. So it's funny how fast these things change in recruiting, but that's the industry we cover, y'all. It's very fast moving. What you might not have known about this recruiting class, there's some serious highs, and you start to see why Brian Kelly took this job when you look at this recruiting class. Did you know there's 7 guys he's bringing in, including the transfer portal? 7 players who at least one recruiting service has called a 5-star or better at one point during their recruitment. And that's why I'm very liberal with who I call a 5-star, because that's just such a lofty designation. It's so hard to do. So few guys get that. And generally speaking, if a recruiting service any of them is willing to put their name behind saying this is a 5-star guy, they're going to have pretty good odds to be a star, much more so than a 4-star, 3-star. By the way, for the stars don't matter crowd, get out of here. You're not going to like what I have to say because the math disagrees with you. Every single year you look at the NFL draft, and guys who were 5-stars get drafted much higher rate than guys who were 4-stars, and guys who were 4-stars get drafted at much higher rates than guys who were 3-stars, and so on and so forth. And everybody will say things like, oh, well, did you see the first round was mostly 3-stars? Well, of course. There's like 3,000 3-star players. There's 30 5-star players. Of course, there's going to be more 3-star guys. There are more of them. Like it would be an anomaly. It would be an outstanding scouting job, the likes of which we have never seen at any level of sports, to see more 5-star guys in the NFL than 3-star guys. With that being said, you've got Shelton Sampson, who is, a 5-star on 3. You got Zalance Hurd, who is, just about everywhere 5-star, and very good player. Deshaun Walmack on 3. JV and Taviano, rivals. Jaylen Brown, he was a 5-star on 24/7, right? 247. And he kind of lost that. He went down a little bit. He's still pretty highly recruited, y'all. He's still a very high 4-star. So I look at that and like, it's still hard to ever be a 5-star. Just saying. He was a 5-star. I don't think any of them currently have Jaylen Brown, but I don't think he got less talented during the process. That's the thing that's always funny to me is like, did he show you something to lose it? Like Colin Hurley was a 5-star for the class of 2025, and then he reclassifies to 2024, and they're calling him a 3-star. And I'm like, did he lose talent? Is he not able to throw the ball the same? Anyway, whatever. And then, of course, you've got Denver Harris and Aaron Anderson in the transfer portal. Guys, I did the research today to find out, has LSU ever brought in 7 guys with a 5-star designation at any point during the recruitment in 1 year? The answer is no. I went back all the way to 2001, and mind you, in 2001, the recruiting services were not what they were today. They barely had star ratings, so This is not apples to apples. That 2001 class was truly special. They had 5 guys who were 5 stars. If the recruiting services were what they were today, I'd say many of those guys would have gotten 5 stars from somebody. That was a truly special recruiting class. But yeah, not one of those classes had 7 or more players. So you kind of see why Brian Kelly's coming to LSU, because in his first year at LSU, he's able to pull in some top tier talent like that. And you're also able to see with the composition of it. So obviously the talent levels are there, the volume of talent. I mean, it's a lot of high, lofty guys. The composition of the class is where I really start to, that's where my nitpickies get in. I have a couple philosophies I like to personally evaluate LSU recruiting classes with. My personal philosophies might not even work for other teams. And I'll show you why in a second. Do we have any comments here? You don't think he'll hang around until the 24 season and battle Walker for the starting job? I just can't see it. It's not guaranteed he beats Walker. That's Nussmeier. Yeah, guys, I'll say this. If Brian Kelly finds a way to keep Nussmeier and Walker Howard and Jaden Daniels and Ricky Collins, particularly the first 2 I named, if both of those guys stay on campus with those 2 other guys also on campus, that's one of the most impressive roster management jobs I've seen in LSU in recent history. I mean, it's just not likely to happen, just statistically speaking. It would be an incredible job. So, we'll see. I'm an American Patriot. Yeah, I saw this. LSU backup quarterback Garrett Nussmeier has signed an NIL deal that will allow him to stay in the stay-feeling cheesiest hotel room during his stay at the Orlando Citrus Bowl versus Tutor. And if you've seen a picture of this thing, it is ridiculous. It is just straight up just cheesed out room. Man, it is insane. Man, I don't know. That might be too much Cheez-It for me. It's crazy. It's pretty wild, but hey, whatever. I'll say this. Also, it should be illegal to have a Cheez-It bowl and a Cheez-It citrus. Well, first off, Cheez-It citrus, yuck, gross. Anyways, but to have 2 bowl games like that in the same city, same stadium, 1 week apart, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So here's 2 rules I always like to look at with LSU's recruiting class. Number 1, your trenchmen matter more than your speed players. And it's not because speed players aren't important. This is only an LSU rule. Because speed guys grow on freaking trees here in Louisiana. Every single year, you've got tons of DBs running 4.240 all over the state. Receivers, DBs, it's ridiculous. This state has a ridiculous amount of talent with those type of players. And, if you don't get one in this class, I mean, they're probably either under the radar or they're coming next year, or you got them for the last 2 years and you're good. That's why I always value the trench guys more than your DBs, wide receivers, because it's LSU. Let's be realistic. I mean, name a year at LSU where defensive backs and wide receiver play has been like the issue. I mean, you might be able to find a couple outliers. Sure. Go ahead. Have fun. Knock yourself out. I'm going to tell you, generally speaking, you got a lot of really fast wide receivers and a lot of really fast DBs, and you're going to be fine on that front. And that's one of the reasons why LSU is truly a special job, because you do need that speed to win a championship. You do. But what's held LSU back for years is the trench play. You see the offensive linemen, they're just not there. So offensive line is where I'll start. You got Zalance Hurd, who's 5-star, everything. I don't know where he's going to play next year, but he's too darn good not to play. Someone said the cheese is ugliest rube I've ever seen. Cheesy citrus. Y'all see what I'm going with this? Like, yeah, great for Cheez-It for sponsoring 2 bowl games and supporting college football. I love it. I love it. But my God, guys, like, marketing team, show some tact here, man. Like, get some chemistry going. Like, maybe sponsor like some sort of like Wisconsin bowl game or something like that with your cheese. But anyways, I love Lance Hurd. Outstanding player. I don't see a way he doesn't find his way in the field. What I realistically could see him doing is sliding in at right tackle and Emory Jones sliding into guard, where he's probably a little more natural fit for college. But I mean, Emory Jones is also doing pretty darn good at right tackle, so it's hard to say right now. Lance Hurd also told Brian Kelly he straight up wants to play left tackle. But then you've got DJ Chester, who I really love. DJ Chester is a little more heavy-handed, heavy-footed. He looks like a true right tackle if I've ever seen one. And Tyree and Adams and Paul Mabinga kind of rounded out. I'd rather 5, because here's my second rule with the recruiting classes. If your recruiting class takes the field and plays a football game, what's that football team look like? And that's how I judge your recruiting class, because you should have every single year, you get 25 guys. That's what you've had. Now you get however many you want. Trust me, you're signing at least 25, if not 30. I would like with your freshman class, not necessarily transfer portals, just your freshmen, sign at least 22 guys, 1 of each position. Whatever you bring in, that should be a good football team. Well, with 4 offensive linemen, you can't even field a full offensive line. But here's the rule. Here's the exception. You get all your offensive line back. So could I understand moving that 1 scholarship for 1 offensive lineman spot and being aggressive at more other positions of need, like DB, because you lose 5 DBs this year. You get Greg Brooks, by the way, back. That's huge for LSU and unexpected. But you needed DBs. So I understand going after DBs. I truly do. Tight end, huge position in need. You only got 1 guy you trust. You needed running backs? Sure. But I would have liked 1 more. I noticed they're kind of going, all these guys projected out as offensive tackles. Mabinga's the one guy I could more easily see sliding inside. But remember the Les Miles, like mid 2010s of just sliding around offensive tackles into playing off, just finding the best 5 offensive linemen and get guys out of place. Like, people loathed seeing Ethan Posick at center because he's 6'7". But I am going to say, Ethan Posick started a football game in the NFL for the Cleveland Browns this week at center. So maybe there's some merit to that strategy. I don't know. I've seen very good coaches do it either way. So I would prefer to have like a true offensive center and a true guard come in, but that's not the end of the world. Offensive line, you can't complain because ultimately you're bringing in 4 good football players and 1 incredible blue chipper. If I had to bet, I'd say Hurd plays opposite Campbell at right tackle. I agree with you. I just don't. And look, that's the thing. Just like Will Campbell last year, where you were saying he's too darn good not to see the field, I just don't see where. Guess what? They got him on the field at left tackle. So while it's offensive tackle centric, I do like this class, and it's not perfect, but it's good. And especially the context of what you're bringing back, absolutely give that an A. Now, what is concerning about this freshman class, let's not complain the transfer portal here. You didn't sign a defensive tackle. You signed 0 defensive tackle. And I really don't think there's an excuse for that. You should always sign a defensive tackle. Now, They signed 3 edge rushers with the freshman class. Now, the transfer portal bailed them out. We've talked about those transfer portal guys. Jordan Jefferson, you got Jalen Lee. You really needed those guys, you know. Swinson, Parashand. You know, you got guys coming in on the defensive line, but you didn't sign a single defensive tackle. You did sign 3 edge rushers. Jackson Howard, Deshaun Womack, who, by the way, Deshaun Womack's another one of those guys with a 5-star designation. And Dylan Carpenter, who's one of the most underrated recruits out there. I like Dylan Carpenter. My question is, all those guys are like 6'4", 240. They're very close in size and stature. Do one of those guys beef up and slide inside the defensive tackle? Maybe they already have that plan. I could see that. I mean, these guys all have the frame for it. I don't know. I can't see a world where you have an entire position you don't fill in a recruiting class. That just seems like a major miss for this signing class. I don't know. I guess they had plans to hit the transfer portal for that all along. They didn't see the guys they wanted in freshman class, and they just went for it, and they're expecting to get Mason Smith back. And we all know what we have with Mason Smith. Mason Smith's one of the best players in the country. So overall in the trenches, out of this freshman class, you know, you've got, you know, based on what you consider this jack rusher position, you've got either 8 or 9 positions to field. Okay, so you would have liked to see 8 or 9 freshmen brought in, and you got 7. So I would have liked to see 1 or 2 more bodies there, if not an extra for fluff, you know. I mean, but that's where we're at. I think that anytime you bring in the trenches 2 5-star guys, and then you bring in some talented transfer portal guys, you can't really complain. But I really do wish for LSU that there could have been 1 or 2 more bodies there, particularly in the freshman class for defensive tackle. It's not the end of the world. This is still a good class, guys. LSU's bringing in some of the most talent out there. I mean, I think it rated 3rd in the SEC, anywhere from 5 to 7th the recruiting class. I mean, and then you bring in 2 5-star guys from the transfer portal. You can't really complain. They're doing some good work. Let's see here. Let's get some comments here before I move on. You heard my shtick on the trench guys. Let's move on from there. I think we have already signed our fate next year by allowing Jaden Daniels to come back. Unless he takes a huge step forward in accuracy, poise in pocket, we're a 9-3 team at best. Hate to say it. Well, Heath, where is LSU going to get worse next year? Because let's understand, this team was 9-3 this year. Where are they getting worse? And do you expect them to get upset by Texas A&M quality team again? I don't see the logic. That doesn't sit for me because, I mean, they're bringing a lot of people back offensively. Like, the offense is almost all back. I mean, really. The entire offensive line. You should bring back your entire running back room, but we'll see how that goes. And then you're bringing in 2 guys who I think will be immediate impact guys, if not starters. Receiving class, guys, LSU's got elite receivers coming in. I don't see where you're getting that. I don't see how you think 9-3 because we saw what he did this year. I get Jaden Daniels is not a perfect quarterback. He has some flaws. There's some throws that aren't in his repertoire. He does not have the arm talent that, say, like a Jamarcus Russell had or Joe Burrow had. But to say that he can't, that they're going to go 9-3 again and this team can't improve, come on, man. But Jaden Daniels didn't show me anything to show me that he can win games with his arms. I mean, it's a combination of legs and arm, man. I mean, he threw. How about that throw to Mason Taylor at the end of Bama? I mean, he's had his moments. I'm not saying that he's going to go out there and be the next, Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, anything like that. I mean, yes, he has his flaws throwing the ball, But let's not act like LSU went, 7-5 this year, and he was absolutely what's holding him back. Ask Preston. We only have 3 running backs listed. Who's hurt? Goodwin. Goodwin's out for the season. He got hurt. What was that? UAB? I think it was the UAB game. He tore his ACL. Touchdown, Pirates, baby. 45-21. ECU up large in the fourth quarter. Love to see it, man. I love pointless Tuesday night bowl games. Our receiver class will be one of the best in the country. Nailed it on the head. And this is why Brian Kelly is coming to LSU. Let's transition into the good news, because I sounded so droll and Debbie Downer on the trench play, but that's just because I'm particular. I have things I'm looking for, and I've seen these things. I've seen LSU have great classes on paper that didn't translate to success on the field because of these things over the years. So I look for them. And, it's not like I'm giving them an F, but I just, there's some certain things that I was pointing out and noticing. Receiving class, man. Aaron Anderson, transfer portal from Bama. Let's talk about the transfer portal first. 5-star kid. I saw him in person. He looked incredible at Warren East, and I saw him for the Catholic game. He was unstoppable that game. Willed them to victory, and he's a great returner. He'll be your punt returner, kick returner next year, and he won't fumble the ball. So LSU should improve dramatically right off the bat, just not turning the ball 3 times in the kick game. That should be a huge boost. So, and by the way, he's a freshman. He redshirted at Bama, so he's got all his eligibility remaining. Then you've got Kai Preen, little, shifty, small guy. I talked to Kai recently, and he's telling me they do want him at wide receiver. There was some talk maybe he could play running back. But no, he's, small, shifty guy. He's real fast. Shelton Sampson, a guy who, another one of those 5-star guys I was telling me, that's just such a rare designation. Big, tall guy, reminds me of Terrence Tolliver. You love him on the outside. He brings a lot of size. And then Jalen Brown, another guy who was a 5-star, but, I guess apparently he did something. He must have talked to somebody's mama they didn't like, and they decided to take that 5-star away from him. I don't care. I don't think he's less talented than he was when he committed as a 5-star. Jalen Brown. And then, excuse me, LSU's lowest recruited receiver is Kyle Parker, who out of Lovejoy, Texas, just absolutely killed it statistically, had a huge year. He would have been higher recruited, but he's only 5'10". So this is a stacked receiver class they're bringing in. Walker Howard is sitting there smiling right now. Man, I get to throw to these guys. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Yo, we need to boost them likes for P guys. Show the love. Hey guys, smash the like button, share the show, do all the things that make my algorithm gods happy with me. Appreciate you, Stephen Miller. Just ask the Karen Crow boys about Aaron Anderson. Oh, look, Stephen, for a fact my father-in-law would be very upset if I talked to anybody from Karen Crow. James P. Bitterman would not stand for it. My father-in-law was the Acadiana High School PA guy for many, many years and did not like the Karen Crow Bears. LSU also checked off another important block for me. That's quarterback. Every single year you need a quarterback. Every single year. You need a quarterback. And a good one. And LSU got a good one. Ricky Collins. Remember, I went to LSU summer camp this year, and Arch Manning was there, and Ricky Collins was there. Arch Manning was uncommitted at the time. Ricky Collins was committed to Purdue. By the way, shout out Ricky Collins Bowl coming up next week. You know where the coaches went to? Coaches went straight to Ricky Collins to let him know that His offer still stands, although he didn't admit it in my interview. He said, "Oh, I don't know. I'm so committed to Purdue. I could never consider LSU." 2 weeks later, baby. 2 weeks later, Ricky reconsidered. But Ricky Collins has a lot of zip on his pass. You like what you see out of him. He's a very good leader. Cerebral quarterback, smart young kid, coached by Marcus Randall, who was a quarterback at LSU. It's my understanding that LSU coaches had him at number one in the state, like their number one target. Like they thought he was the best fit for their program, and they went after him. Of course, you had Eli Holstein at Zachary, who the previous administration had offered, but LSU never even talked to Eli Holstein, from what I understand, once Brian Kelly and company came in town. They went for the national five-star guys. They went for once Dante Moore said, "Sorry, coach," and Jaden Rashada went to Miami, and Dante Moore, committed to Oregon, which, of course, he ends up flipping later on down the road, but that's neither here nor there. Once Dante Moore picked Oregon, they went straight to Ricky Collins. They didn't talk to Arch Manning. And that says something to me. You know what else says something to me? Brian Polian is the son of Bill Polian, who drafted Peyton Manning. You don't mean to tell me that if they wanted to, they could have, called in a favor, pulled some strings to make that happen? I think, of course, they could. And by the way, Brian Polian was the only coach at that summer camp who popped in to see Arch Manning at all. The only one. And that's when it clicked in my head. Duh! Bill Polian, Peyton Manning, Arch Manning, Brian Polian. They probably have ran into each other before. But, of course, nothing went there because I think they wanted Ricky Collins. And you got to sign a quarterback every year. Check that box off. Great job. If Ricky Collins is the face of your franchise in 3 or 4 years, you're feeling great about that. Tight end, you had a huge position of need here. Huge position of need because you only had one tight end you could trust right now, and that's Mason Taylor. And you needed to fill that role in a strong way. But before we talk about that tight end, I'm going to talk about my sponsor who fills the role of making this show possible. That's Tramonte's Meat and Seafood. Make sure to check them out for their single barrel bourbon. They got tons of selection available in the shop. All your liquor, wine needs. Then look, if you're looking to grill for the New Year's Day, no better place than Tramonte's to impress all your friends and family. Beef tenderloin, prime rib. They've got, all sorts of select cuts and meats. So y'all go check them out at the corner of Airline and Jefferson, right behind Parkview Baptist.
Tramonte's has meat. Tramonte's has seafood. Tramonte's has much more. Tailgating and homegating platters. Huge wine and liquor selection. Beer and all the spices you need. Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats. Ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs. 20 flavors of sausage for the grill. Daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tramontes.com.
Thank you, Tramontes, for making our show possible all year long. Such a big deal to us. American Patriot says Mac Markway seems legit. He's legit, and he's very highly recruited, and he fills a position, and he's got soft hands. I love Mac Markway. The kid, a lot of times people will look at the star rating and go straight to the top. So Mac Markway, I think, speaks for itself. I think the evaluation's proper on him. I'm going to skip to Pimpton, the Vanderbilt flip. Pimpton's 6'6", 220. He runs like a receiver. This is a big kid. Y'all realize that in the 12th hour, Brian Ketley came in and took the crown gem of Vanderbilt's recruiting class. And he, it's just like casual, like it's LSU's second best tight end. That says a lot. That's an SEC program. I know it's Vanderbilt, but it still says a lot. So Pimpton, and then of course Jackson McGowan out of Ohio, who was committed to Cincinnati. It's a big bodied kid and a really high character kid too. So you got 3 guys who fit what you wanted, what Denbrock wants to do offensively. Remember, Denbrock recruited the McGowan kid, he recruited him at Cincinnati, and he committed to Cincinnati while Denbrock was still there. So that's an ideal fit. Brought in both those guys toward the end of the process. So that's good with Cole Taylor out the door. And really, you could just see as this year went by, it was Mason Taylor, and that was it. That was it. That was the only trust that they had on this team. So, yeah, tight end's looking good. Let's see here. 2023 Daniels, 2024 Howard, 2025 Howard, 2026 Collins, Hurley. Yeah, more or less that. Yeah, and look, Colin Hurley is a kid you have to love. We've had him on this show, and I talked to Colin quite a bit. You talk about an intelligent kid. I mean, Colin Hurley has a future way brighter than football. I tell you that much. Ricky Collins and Colin Hurley, that's going to be a battle to watch. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Yeah, I mostly concur with that. Look, the only caveat is if Nussmeier improves faster than Walker Howard improves, maybe Nussmeier's the guy, but I don't see that happening. I think Walker Howard will pass up Nussmeier and will be the guy before we know it. At running back, that is a huge position of need for LSU because this running back room was paper thin this year. And Josh Williams was the only guy they could trust at times. John Emery had fumbling issues. Noah Kane just didn't seem to ever have the trust of the team. You really needed some help there. And look, here's a good comment by American Patriot. They have McGowan as a 3-star. After watching his videos, he's better than 3-star. I agree. I think Pimpton is criminally underrated. Go watch Pimpton's video. But McGowan, he's pretty solid too. Go watch both those guys film. That's why I didn't even want to we all know what Matt Markway. He's been in the fold for years. Yeah, he's a good player. Go watch those two guys. Go watch those two because they're both underrated. But Pimpton's film is outstanding. I mean, he's a freak. In the running back room, you've got two guys coming in, and they are going to fill some needs some kind of way. Caleb Jackson, who battled an ankle sprain this year, he's a track star, and let me tell you, he is chiseled. Physically, he has an uncanny similarity to Michael Ford. Probably a little bit longer stride and better top speed, but he's chiseled like a rock, just like Michael Ford was. Caleb Jackson is an absolute beast and a home run threat from Liberty High School there in Baton Rouge. But then Trey Holly, LHSAA all-time leading rusher, is coming in too. Now, Trey Holly's a little undersized, 5'8", 190 pounds, but he's got moves. And kid plays. I mean, go watch his film. You think he became the LHSAA all-time leading rusher for nothing? Out of Union Parish? No, he's a good player, y'all. Mike likes Trey Holly more than Caleb Jackson. I think a big part of that is the health. Personally, I like Caleb Jackson more because he's got that size and he's just muscular. He's chiseled. He's like plug and play ready, y'all. I really like what I see out of Caleb Jackson. I would not be surprised to see him compete for the starting running back role. I wouldn't be surprised at all if you're looking at one of those two guys as your starter next year. But I don't know. I think Caleb Jackson will have time to recover from his injury, and I think he'll be fine. So running back room, great job. Given how thin the running back room was this year, I would have liked to see an additional body at running back. 2 is fine every year. If you bring in 2, that's perfectly fine. That's what you should be doing. But just because of the need, I would have liked to see you use some extra scholarship spots at running back. Because, man, you clearly did not have what you needed this year. Now you've got Goodwin coming off a torn ACL. And, John Emery, who has been up and down, and Noah Kane, who, has been serviceable at spots, but clearly they don't see him as the feature back. And Josh Williams, who will be back. That's great, but you'd like to see more than that. Brian Kelly likes to use 4 backs in his system. If he doesn't have 4 backs he can trust, he can't run his system, and they couldn't run his system this year, so that was a problem for the team. Woo! All right. How long would we be going on? We're going on about an hour here. So I need to wrap up the show here quick. So if y'all have any comments or anything like that, go ahead and get them in. But I do have a couple more positions I need to go by. I'm going to try to wrap that up. We try not to make the show last too long. But we're already in an hour, so it is what it is. Linebacker, they're bringing 2 solid players, Braithwaite and Weeks. Whit Weeks, that's of course the Wes Weeks, the younger brother of Whit Weeks, who's a little more talented than Whit Weeks is. A little higher recruited, a little more speed. You like to see him here for sure. 2 is a little thin. I would have liked to see 3 at linebacker, particularly given the fact that you signed no defensive tackles and you only signed 3 edge rushers. Because you might have to beef up one of those edge rushers, which, so on and so forth. You get the, ultimately in your front 7, you're signing 5. Now, I get it's more of a front 6 nowadays because they mostly run a 4-2-5 effectively is what they're running, or 3-3-5. That jack position is kind of a hybrid. But I still would like to see more in your front 7 than that. And neither one of those guys are like Harold Perkins-esque game-changing recruits. They're both just solid linebackers. I would have liked to see an extra linebacker and then 2 defensive tackles, and then I'd feel a lot better about your front 7. So your front 7's a little thin, in my opinion, for this recruiting class. And then defensive back, this is an example of why it is DBU at LSU, guys. Here's Stephen Miller with an impression of my father-in-law. Touchdown, Acadiana wrecking Rams. It's distinguishable. You will never mistake James P. Bitterman for anybody else on air. Anyways, defensive backfield is a plethora of riches. Of course, they quietly announced the Southeastern transfer, Ty Alexander, who's going to have 0 stars next to his name, but he was Southeastern's best defensive back with multiple pick sixes. I think he had 7 interceptions over the last 2 years. And you've seen guys, LSU will be hit and miss with these FCS level studs. They come in and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not so good. So it's definitely worth taking a gamble on him because he is a really good player there for Southeastern. But then you bring in Denver Harris in the transfer portal. And on the field, there's no complaints about him. They had some off-the-field troubles there at Texas A&M. But on the field, he was a stud. You take that every time. Javian Taviano is a guy you signed late. Another guy with that 5-star designation. Special player, guys. Special player. So I wouldn't be surprised if some combination of Ty Alexander, Denver Harris, and Javian Taviano are your starting corners next year. I've seen some people think Ty Alexander. Ty Alexander is an anomaly to me. I don't know what to project him as because, I mean, we saw what he did at Southeastern. Sometimes these guys come in and they're great, sometimes not so great. So I'm just saying, don't be surprised if it's some sort of combination of those 3. Then at safety, you're bringing in Kylan Jackson, Ryan Yates. You got Jeremiah Hughes out of Las Vegas, who had an exceptionally good season this year. And then you got Daughtry coming in. So all those guys on top of all the special guys I just mentioned. Let's see. And Ashton Stamps out of Rummel. Was that right, Rummel? I might owe him an apology. Let me double check this real quick. Ashton Stamps. Archbishop Rummel. Okay. Had to double check myself there. Yeah, Archbishop Rummel. lot of really, I mean, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 defensive backs you're bringing in and some hella talented guys. Bear in mind, you're losing 5 defensive backs. Just saying. Just saying. That's why this is DBU. And when you look at how special this receiving class is and this defensive back class is, you start to see, oh, that's why Brian Kelly came here. Yes, I've got my complaints in the front 7, and, you know, maybe I wouldn't even call offensive line a complaint. I've just got some critiques. But this recruiting class just spells out everything you need to know why LSU is so special. What Brian Kelly needs to do is keep on doing this. Keep it up for 2024 and 2025 and 2026. One thing I noted. Pick up my notes here, guys. I'm sorry. One thing I noticed, and this is not something I intended to have on my show tonight, but just when I started figuring out, remember I told y'all LSU signed 7 guys with that 5-star designation at one point during the recruiting process. I was trying to figure out if LSU had ever done it. They hadn't. But I did notice that LSU's runs of championship, let's look at that 2019 championship team, greatest of all time. You look at those guys with the 5-star designation. You had a lot of 5-star guys playing on that team. An insane amount. And guys who weren't even the stars of the team. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he wasn't 5-star. Justin Jefferson, he wasn't 5-star. Joe Burrow, he wasn't. But you also had, in addition to that, Christian Fulton playing as a senior. Rashard Lawrence, Caleb Von Chason, Jacob Phillips, Tyler Shelvin, Jacoby Stevens, Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall. Cardell Thomas was a 5-star at one point during his recruitment. He did fall off, though, and didn't really play much. Trey Palmer was another one who had a 5-star. Derek Stingley Jr., 5-star. John Emery Jr., Marshall Brooks. Those guys had varying levels of impact, but that is a ton of 5-star talent that was on that team. And, you know, you notice that there's certain stretches that LSU had where they weren't bringing in a ton of these guys. Remember like how rough 2014 was and even parts of 2015? Remember 2014 was an excellent recruiting class LSU brought in. Excellent recruiting class. You had Fournette, Malachi Dupree, Clifton Garrett, Jamal Adams, even Ed Paris was 5-star by someone. He was a 5-star at 247. He lost that. He dropped in the ratings is what it was. 2013, you brought in 2 guys. 2012, 0. 2011, 3. 2010, 1. You didn't have stockpiles of talent going into that. That's how you build championship runs. You stockpile talent, you develop that talent, you keep that talent. Just saying, it was a pattern I noticed. It was something I noticed. Leading up to 2019, 2015, 5 guys with that designation. 2016, 5 guys. 2017, 4 guys. 2018, 3 guys. And then 2019, you brought in 5 freshmen with that designation. Just saying. Just saying. Maybe championships are built at their core by bringing in special talented players. Maybe I'm not telling you anything new or monumental. I just happened to notice some fun patterns while I was doing that research today. Guys, thank y'all so much for watching the show tonight. I really do enjoy doing this LSU Football Fix with y'all every Tuesday night. Remember to keep Mike Scarborough in your prayers. I don't know. He's got, someone in his family with health issues. I don't want to go into too many details, but he could use your prayers for sure tonight. I don't know if he'll be live tomorrow night with Buddy or not. Regardless, hit that subscribe, hit the bell. We will be doing our post-game show next Monday after the bowl game, and then I'll be back the next day after that, Tuesday. I'll be going live with my show through the February signing day. The Tuesday following signing day will be my final show where I break down. Hopefully they'll be wrapped up in the transfer portal by then, but that'll be my final show of the year. I appreciate y'all. Hit that like button, hit that bell, and I will see y'all next week.